This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, miniatures, and paints, discount prices at miniaturemarket.com. Hey everybody! Now, if you guys have been watching the channel at all, you know that I've been covering a lot of games that I've been excited to get back to. And one of the ones that I think that really needs to go over and talk about is, forgive me with my arm, things aren't tough, is, the long box edition of Descent, which is the original first edition of the Descent. Now, I know there's an edition of Descent coming out that is not considered the third edition. It's something totally different. And the second edition, I think the second edition was very good, but it wasn't the first edition. And this is a game I want to show a lot of people because a lot of people don't know about it because it's such an older Fantasy Flight game. It goes back before this whole rush and thrill over all types of games where we're basically in the golden age of gaming. So what I want to do is eventually we're going to do a playthrough, but I want to get everything painted, and before I get everything painted, I want to show you this game. So in case you want to try to go out, I think this game is still very affordable. If you can find it on eBay, $200 with the game and usually a couple expansions is kind of the norm. Don't fall for people trying to get $500 for it. It's very affordable. You get a lot of game here. There are solo rules that have been made on BGG. We are going to cover those and we're going to play those, but I want to show you how the original game started off. So without further ado, why don't we go down to the table? We're going to take a look at a whole bunch of things. I'm going to talk you through this so you have an understanding of how to play this game. So when we start painting and we start doing little things with this, you understand what's going on. So without further ado, Descent, the first edition, Journey into the Dark, and all the greatness that comes with it. Let's go down and learn a little bit about this fantastic experience that it's almost like a cult following because the people that love the original version just absolutely won't let it go. Me being one of them. Let's go down and check it out. Now, normally there would be 4 characters here, okay? And the board would be a lot bigger. But what I wanted to do was just kind of give you a quick overview of everything. You are going to be playing a series of heroes. Each one of you can either, it could be one person versus the Overlord or 4 people over the Overlord. As I'll explain later, there are also solo rules on Board Game Geek that you can find that are going to do a lot of things for you. You're going to have your choice from a whole bunch of characters, and you get a bag full of these dudes, all right? And I'm looking forward to getting these painted up. But as you can see, you're going to have health, fatigue, armor, and movement. Now down here, do you see where these black dice are? These are power dice. That's these right here. You're going to be able to add these using fatigue or other things that you may want to do to help enhance. On the bottom here are starting skills. These cards right here, and let me just get so you guys can see them all. Okay, as you can see, depending on your character, that's how many starting cards you're going to do. These are going to give you additional abilities and things like that. You have all kinds of different people. You have the Rune Witch, the Spirit Speaker, Modok, just a wide array depending on what you want to play. Do you want to be orcs? Well, yeah, you could do that. You could be elves. You can be humans. Look at the dude with the fox. I mean, that's just cool. All right, and just so much. I always love this guy. This guy's just nasty. All right, range weapons and so forth and so on. But again, you're going to be able to do and be who you want. Now, right here, we're going to show you who we're starting with. Okay, and as you can see, steel horns. which is our figure right here. Okay. And the sculpt, listen, this is a long time ago. Sculpts are not the best, but they are good and above average. And I really enjoy these, and these are going to be fun to mess with. And he's going to be one of the guys I'm going to paint anytime you can have a cool beastman. Now, as you can see, his specialty is, yeah, you got it. He's a melee guy. All right, that's his main trait. Okay, and that's what he's going to go by. He's going to start with 3 of these cards: 16, 3, 1, and 4 movement. This here is called Conquest, and that's how many you're going to start with. So you're going to start with 3 of these tokens. You're going to be able to get more of these tokens and lose more of these tokens. Anytime you run out of these tokens, game over. So when you die, you're going to lose tokens. When you there's certain things that can happen, certain monsters that you're going to fight, certain cards that the overlord's going to play, traps and things like that, they're going to cause you to lose these. And if ever you lose them, the game is over. You're going to start with 300 gold, and you're going to be able to buy some equipment in town. Okay? And for this little thing here, all I did was just pick out some things, and I'm going to point out, as you can see, it has a cost, what it's going to add to your armor. So for instance, we're going to put leather armor on our man. That's going to give us 2 defense. Okay, an iron shield, exhaust to cancel 1 wound being dealt to you. You cannot use this item to cancel wounds dealt by attacks that ignore armor. Okay, well, all right, that's all right. Okay, here's your weapon. Okay, and this is when we get into combat. We'll talk about a little bit more about this stuff. As you can see, there it's double-sided, which is really cool. Here, as with all the things that you can equip, you have a little hand here. That means it's a one-handed weapon. If you're able to roll the 2 surge bolts, you're going to be able to add 1 damage. We'll explain that more later. Offhand bonus, +1 damage. Okay, and these are the 2 dice that are going to be associated with it when you go to roll. So these 2 dice are going to roll when you run into an enemy. Now, very simply, everything is split into a couple of things, folks. You're going to have a bunch of actions, and that is going to dictate how you do things. So the first phase basically is very simple. You're going to refresh any cards. So for instance, if you have these cards, as you can see, we were able to draw a certain amount of cards, that if you use some of them may cause you to exhaust them. So you're going to refresh any of your cards that you use. Some of these may cause you to use fatigue and stuff like that, and you're going to have markers that you want to keep on your character for fatigue and how many wounds you have. And now, as you know, we have 16, so what you'll be doing is putting 16 wounds on the guy and taking them away as you go. So you'll refresh your cards to begin with. Then, if you have more than 1 item, you can kind of adjust your items. You're allowed to carry in your backpack up to 3 items. Okay, and that's going to make a big difference in how you're facing, or whatever you decide to face in the particular dungeon that you are crawling through. As you're doing that, you can swap things out of your backpack and put them in. You can carry 2 weapons, and you can attack with either one, okay, or both, but never at the same time. It has to be one or the other for an attack. Here, and then finally, you are going to take your actions. Now, here's the 4 possible actions that you can take. You can run. So how do you run? Well, you take your movement and double it. We have a movement here of 4, so we're going to want to run. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Another action is battle. You can stand in place and fight something, and get 2 attacks, but you cannot move after it. So you got to be very smart in how you do that using battle. Advanced. Now, advance is the basic, all in all, what you do. That's being able to move a certain amount. If you have a movement of 4, you can't run. you would move 2. Maybe there's a monster over there. Let's just pretend there's one here. You would attack, and then if you defeat the monster, you can move your additional 2. You could do it any way you want. If he's right, if he's right here, you can move 1, attack, kill, and then move 3. All right. The final action that you could do is ready, and that's where you can use either your speed or make 1 attack, and then you're going to put a marker on your hero, and that's going to indicate that you are ready. This means that during the Overlord phase, you can counteract something that you may think he has up his sleeve, which is very unique and very, very cool. Then, once all the players have gone, well, it's our man, the Overlord. And let's talk a little bit about the Overlord. The Overlord is going to collect threat, and threat is going to help him draw a certain amount of cards out of this deck. Okay? Usually, the way you add up threat is by the number of players. There may be certain cards, there may be certain things that are going to give you threat, and you're going to play a certain amount of cards. You can only have 8 cards in your hand, and if you are able to draw more cards, you're going to have to make sure that you draw down to 8. Now, each ones are going to have certain events that you're going to be able to use. You're going to be able to spawn monsters and then activate monsters. So the way it goes, you're going to collect your threat, draw your cards, you're going to spawn or play a card, play a card from your hand, and then you're going to be able to spawn something. And for instance, we're going to want to, you're only allowed to spawn 1 card. Okay, so spawning, play this card before activating any of your monsters for the turn. You may spawn 2 skeletons and one master skeleton. So say our guy's in here and he's just walking along and everything seems to be good. Well, the Overlord decides to play this card, and then boom, here they all come in. Skeletons. Now, each card is going to give you an idea what goes on with those skeletons. Okay, here is just your average level skeleton, and this is where you're going to use here. But a master skeleton always uses the red area. Just nasty. As you can see, it's on both sides, and it gets +2 to its range. So, which brings us to combat. So we're just going to go straight up here, and hopefully be able to explain this, and so you guys understand. Now, as you can see, skeletons have no armor. But if they did, we'll explain what happens here. They have 2 health and 5 movement. It is our turn, and we're deciding that we are going to use an advanced action, and we're going to move right up into that skeleton. Okay? I'm going to put another skeleton here, just to make things a little interesting. Okay? We can use one of our fatigue, okay, to add a black die, and we can add up to 3 black dice, okay, to that for that ability. You can never roll more than 5 dice in total, but we really want to kill this skeleton. So I'm going to use a fatigue. Now, when you run out of fatigue during your turn, when it comes up next, you're not going to be able to add anything, and you're not going to get your fatigue back until you take a rest action, which means that you basically skip an entire turn. An entire turn. So for this, we want to kill this skeleton. All right. So we're going to roll up these dice, and we're going to see how this all comes to be. Let's see how this works out. All right. Pretty interesting, right? Now, these numbers here on this, and hopefully you guys can see, there's a 2 and a 1. If you are shooting at a range, which we'll do with the skeleton, you are going to add up your range. If it's equal to or greater than, then you're going to make a hit. You have these little lightning bolts, as you can see, and what they're going to do is they are going to be surges, and they can be used for certain things. In this case, with this weapon, we're going to be able to use that surge to do 1+1 damage. So you're going to add up your damage, and then how many hearts are here? There's 3 hearts. That's 4. Okay? If the skeleton, say we were facing the master skeleton here, okay, instead, If the Master Skeleton was here, as you can see, he has 3 health and 1 armor. So we would subtract 1 for his armor, okay? And then that's when we would apply the health. Well, he only has 3 health. Well, guess what? Psh, we would be able to kill him. Awesome. All right, that's exactly what we needed to do. Get rid of him. Our heroes took all their turn, but now it's the skeleton's turn. Okay, and this is where, depending on what the skeleton does, he can either move up a little bit. Well, he decides to move up 1. Now he's at +1 range. Okay, and he's going to take an action. They always get an action during the phase in which the Overlord goes. Now they're going to roll a green and a blue. That's a blue even though it looks purple. Okay. Now he may have a card in here that he may want to play. He'll be able to play it before he does his attack, but he has to play the card beforehand. And it'll give you certain things. He rolls, well, that's 3 + 1. He makes his range. And then there are 3, as you can see, hearts that he's going to do against our hero here. Okay? Our hero has 1 armor. He gets a bonus armor from his leather. Okay? And then that leaves 2. So we're going to subtract those. And that means that 1 heart would get through. Means that we would take 1 damage here. But hold on here. We can exhaust this to cancel 1 wound being dealt to us. And you cannot use this item to cancel a wound that ignores armor. Well, there's nothing on this card that says to ignore armor. So we would be able to get through that attack. Now, if there was another skeleton, we wouldn't be able to use this thing again because it's exhausted. And we don't refresh this until our refresh phase. Okay? And that's pretty much how combat works. Spells work the same way. You're going to go through. There's a variance of all kinds of different creatures. Nagas, demons. And as you can see, as you fight more, they get tougher and harder. And hellhounds and spiders and giants and things. This number here is for the number of players. So you got 4 heroes and the Overlord. You would be able to use that. The models, hey, for that time, I mean, absolutely fantastic. And they're just going to be fun to paint. I mean, who doesn't love painting huge, massive spiders? I know I do. I love it without a doubt. Now, for the Overlord, there is a quest guide, okay? And they're going to have all these things that are pre-planned. And they're going to go through these quests. And like I said, you're going to set this dungeon up. You're not going to have any of this stuff out there and let the players discover it. Now, like I said, there's only a certain amount of these, but there were more made, and there's fan-made ones, and all kinds of different things. The Overlord also during its turn can do all kinds of different things. There are events, there are traps that you can run into, that you can have exploding chests. You're going to find chests as you go through, and they're going to be different colors. There's going to be copper, silver, and gold. And each one giving you something a little bit better than the predecessor. Depending on what you get. You can get weapons, you can get different types of armor, cloaks, and things that are going to help you along your adventure. So as you get stronger, unfortunately, so does the monsters. And this, to me, is the basis of all the box dungeon crawls. And it gets forgotten. And that's why we're bringing it back to show you, to passionately bring this back to your attention. Maybe it's something that you have that you haven't dug out in a while. Maybe it's something that you are really just curious about and wanted to know more about. I hope this video helps you with that. So, even though we didn't cover everything, I hope you have a good feel of what you're going to be seeing over the next 6 weeks as we paint this, we play it, and we also show you those solo rules that are on BGG. Go check it out. I'm sure you're not going to be disappointed. Let's go up top and get my final thoughts on Descent, Journey into Darkness, first edition. I hope you enjoyed this. Now listen, your boy didn't cover every rule. No, I wanted you to get a good feel of where a lot of games got their idea from. Okay, the Overlord. Okay, you know where that came from. That came from this. And when you hear Overlord and other games, it came from this game here. Okay, Descent, Descent Journey into the Dark, the first edition. As you see, it's so enriched. It does so much. And if you know, a lot of people aren't fans of one versus many. I personally enjoy it. Okay, I don't mind being the Overlord, but I don't mind being cooperative with the heroes. But the nice thing about this is that there are ways to figure out how to do this solo, and it even adds to the experience. You can follow the quest guide, but you know, as you know, you're going to kind of figure out everything eventually. The beauty part about this is that you can make your own adventure. Okay, so if you're an Overlord, you can do whatever you want to do. There's a companion out there as well, that I actually have, and we'll be looking at that in a future video. That really adds so much if you have all these expansions, and there's a lot of expansions out there. Some of them, again, overpriced. Okay, but if you find the right person that's fair on eBay or on Board Game Geek, you're going to be able to get this, and you're going to see what I'm talking about. This is where it all started. This is where it, Dungeon in a Box, I really feel started with Descent, and it deserves its respect. And it's a phenomenal experience. And to bring it here and show it to you and share it with all of you, for me, is something special. So as we keep going with this, along with a lot of other stuff that we're doing, and you know, over the next 6 weeks or so, as we start picking this off and doing more, painting it, playing it, both with the Overlord and some very unique solo rules that you can find on BGG. Please go to the site, Board Game Geek. Hey, you know, I'm part of them anyways, right? But go there, look up the first edition, read all the articles, read the forums, get a feel for what this is, and see if it's for you. I hope this was enough to really show you how beautiful this game really is. Until next time, it's your old pal Rob saying, we'll see you soon.